It's time to qualify for the Michelin GT Challenge at VIR for the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship and the penultimate point scoring opportunity for GTD and GTD Pro drivers and teams. We're live in sound and vision. It's all free, no interruptions, no subscriptions required. Head over to imsaradio.com and hit live video on the top left if you are listening into us at the moment, or you've got friends who aren't here at beautiful VIR. Just on the border, on the state border, with 3¼ miles and 17 corners, and there's a bit of something for everyone here. Fast down the start-finish line into turn 1, good overtaking opportunity there. Then climbing up out to turn 5, all the way up to turn 12. No oak tree there anymore. That's a tricky one. You want to take a lot of speed into the first part of that corner. Then down through turn 14 to turn 16. That's the roller coaster. Turn 17 is Hogpen, the final corner. Easy to try and be a little greedy there and take too much speed through there and end up on the grass. In terms of the footprint of the circuit itself, well, or the facility itself, this is the biggest place we go to in IMSA. Huge amount of acreage here, which has all kinds of facilities. New places to camp this year, new places to watch. Of course, we've got the villas up alongside 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 on the driver's left-hand side. Some new tarmac being laid down as well. Start with Shea Adam down in the pit lane. Jeremy, Sean, John Hindhoff in the Haggerty Global Broadcast Centre. Jeremy with us in a wee moment. Shea, who's our qualifiers? Let's start in number order with the number 1, Paul Miller Racing.
That would be the one and only Madison Snow, looking for his 3rd pole position on the year, and he is a former pole sitter here at VIRginia International Raceway, that coming back in 2016, when he and Brian Sellers, teaming up for the very first win as a duo, went on to do just that. So, number order in GTD.
Just number order totally. So I'll shout the numbers. You tell me who's qualifying.
All
GTD
right.
Pro number 3, Corvette Racing.
That would be the one and only Mr. Antonio Garcia, trying to keep a streak alive of getting a pole position every year for, I think, the past 5 seasons. Jordan Taylor's given up his seat and letting Antonio have another go.
Porsche, Pfaff Motorsports, number 9 in GTD Pro.
The Australian ace, Matty Campbell, looking for his 2nd ever pole position.
And the number 12, Frank Montecalvo for Vassar Sullivan in the RCF GTD version of their car.
Correct, and in the sister car, the number 14, which is the next numerically, that would be the fastest man from this morning, Mr. Jack Hawksworth.
Number 16, Wright Motorsports Porsche GTD.
That one has to be Ryan Hardwick, as he is the bronze-rated driver in that duo. Next up would be 23, Heart of Racing. This is another one that
Correct.
We don't know the qualifying driver because it can be either one. It is Ross Gunn, the fastest time in GTD last year. So Ross trying to put that in again. The next car numerically is 25, John. That one is Connor DeFilippi, the fastest guy from yesterday's running.
And the rest are all, that's the last of the GTD Pros. The rest are all GTDs. 27, Honda Racing Aston Martin Vantage.
That would be Roman DeAngelis. The next car is applicable for either of their drivers to qualify because they are both of the silver ratings. Team Cawthorpe has had Stephen Mackler qualify the car every available time since we raced at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca back in May. And it's Mike Scheme on qualifying duties for today at VIR. It is Rob McGuinness in the number 39 Carbon with Peregrine Racing Lamborghini. Jaden Conwright, the silver driver, in the number 42 NTE Lamborghini. We've got John Potter back in the Aston Martin for Magnus Racing. Aiden Reed, quickest in the practice this morning, will be handling the qualifying for Rick Ware Racing. Russell Ward, former pole sitter once this year, drew in the duties once again for Windward Racing in their Mercedes, and another Mercedes. It is Cooper McNeil, that's number 79 for WeatherTech Racing. And the last 2 cars on the grid numerically, Robbie Foley in the number 96 Turner Motorsport BMW, looking for his 2nd pole position of the year. And welcome back to Hardpoint Racing. It is Rob Ferriel himself who will see the green flag in the Porsche.
as Shea tells us that the green flag is in the air, and we are indeed out for a fast and furious single 15-minute session. Two classes, the cars are all the same, Jeremy Shaw, and this is the first time for a very long time that we've only had 15 minutes that you and I are going to talk about setting a grid for an IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship event. Hello and good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon, and I think this is going to be fun. As you and Shea were just alluding to there, there've been different people up at the front in each of the two sessions so far, and picking a pole sitter here is going to be pretty darn difficult, to be honest. Having said that, it was a stunning lap this morning by Jack Hawksworth.
Yeah, they got out and did their qualifying simulation, as they call it, their tryout for it. They got out really early. A lot of people did it later on, and I don't know if he knows a shortcut around here or he has some kind of tear in the space-time continuum that he can use, but at one stage he was a full second ahead of everybody else. That got trimmed down to half a second. Doesn't sound a lot, Jeremy, but in the context of what we've seen this season, it really is.
It is, you're right. It was a much bigger margin than we generally see in GTD, so he'll be looking to replicate that this afternoon. A little bit warmer, however. Sun's still shining pretty brightly, so track temperature will be high. Won't be easy for Jack Hawksworth, or for anybody come to that.
He set his lap in the previous session. It's almost spot on 100 Fahrenheit on the track. It's now 111. That's 44 Celsius. It was well under 40 before when he set the traffic at the time earlier. 33 in the air has remained fairly constant, 91 Fahrenheit. So it is just basically down to the sun having beaten down on this race surface, the racing surface, for the last 2.5, 3 hours, or whatever it is. The humidity has dropped from what was 74% this morning down to a still fairly sticky 55%. A little bit more wind than there was this morning, but not very much. 2.5 miles an hour coming in at the moment, so nothing to talk about here. I'm going to be interested to see here, Jeremy, how quickly the Michelin tyres come up to temperature and pressure, and how hard the guys are pushing in these opening laps, and therefore how quickly they park the cars, to be quite honest, if they think they've got a lap that they're happy with.
I agree, because they're going to be they will be starting the race tomorrow on the same times which they qualify right now. If you don't, you go to the back of the grid and you lose the points that you gained in qualifying, because this year, as last, there are points for qualifying. 35 points for the pole position, 32 for second position. Tomorrow it's times 10 as many points in the race, but still the championships are still pretty close between first and second in the GTD regular season championship. It's just 34 points that Stephen McAleer leads by, so if they can get a good result here, they can maybe extend that lead going into the race, and every point really does count. I would expect, John, lap 3, maybe even lap 2, if they really get on the case, to be the fastest lap.
You can hear Mike Skeen's team car off Motorsport AMG GT3 grazing the ground as he comes down through the roller coaster and through the hog pen. Here he comes then. 15 minutes we started with. It's going to be pretty close to 11 minutes. In fact, spot on 11 minutes as he goes across the line to put in a first representative time of 1:47.0. That won't be quick enough. He's going to have to build to that. Monte Calvo goes through in second for the number 12 Vassar Sullivan Lexus. That's the yellow and black car with the green trim at the top of the windshield and on the wing end plates and the door mirrors. We're looking for something, Jeremy, what, down by the 143s, 144s maybe?
Yeah, low 44s or high 43s. I think they're going to struggle to get the high 43s, to be honest, but these guys are pretty darn good, so maybe they can. And when I said third or second lap, second or third flying lap, so they've now completed the second lap, but the first flying lap then for Mike Skeen. He's still on top at the moment. He in kind of a 32 from Frankie Montecalvo in kind of a 12. Then John Potter. So it's a really good first. Well, actually, 5 seconds back, but up into third place initially. So quite a few drivers out there just bringing their tyres in slowly. Antonio Garcia's first flying lap was a 1:55 compared to the 1:47 for Mike Skeen. And I think now Antonio Garcia certainly has a hammer down in car number 3. And he's looking to extend his lead of consecutive seasons with at least one pole position. He and Elio Castroneves are tied with 4 consecutive seasons. This is since the advent of the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship, since the amalgamation in 2014.
Through goes the Lexus of Jack Hawksworth and is immediately usurped in GTD Pro by Connor De Filippi. This isn't a split grid though, Jeremy, so if Mike Skeen, who is on provisional pole at the moment, holds on to that, he will lead the field round to the green tomorrow.
He will indeed, and he did improve on his second flying lap, 45.9 for Mike Skeen. So bringing that Team Courthoff Motorsports Mercedes up to speed. That's car number 32. Frankie Montecalvo still in second position, half a second back in the number 12 Vassar Sullivan Lexus. Then Robert McGuinness in third position at the moment in car number 39, the Lamborghini, but he's now been usurped by Madison Snow up to second place in car number 1, the BMW for Paul Miller Racing. Just 1/100th of a second, or 11 thousandths between Mike Skeen and Madison Snow at the moment. Still, the GTD Pro drivers being a lot more circumspect with how they bring their tyres in. They've all completed 2 flying laps, but the best of them is Ross Gunn, 11th overall at the moment in the Heart of Racing Aston Martin car number 23, down in actually 12th position now, 149.5. That's really interesting.
It's Jeremy Shaw and John Hindhoff in the Haggerty Global Broadcast Centre. Shea Adam down in the pits. We'll speak to her in about 7.5 minutes time when we find out who is on pole position. Nothing to say from the pits, nothing to do from the pits, because you cannot touch the car. Even if your driver brings the car in, there's nothing you can do. Russell Ward goes to the top, 45.7, and that's on his second flyer. And now the pro cars have brought their Michelin tyres up to temperature as Jeremy Shaw thought they would. 44.8, Jeremy, for Jack Hawksworth, goes to the top overall and in pro.
Indeed, by almost half a second over Connor Filippi, who jumped up to second position overall now. So it is the 2 GT Pro cars, the Vassar Sullivan Racing, the Lexus, but he's now, it's now Ross Gunn to the top in the Heart of Racing team, Aston Martin. A 1:44.315, a great lap for Ross Gunn. And that is a lot quicker than he managed in the combined practice sessions for that number 23 car. Was a 1:44.6, so 0.3 of a second Ross Gunn has found in the heat of the afternoon.
Very good indeed.
Madison Snow, best of the GTD non-pros, third fastest now in car number 1 at 1:45.270. So it's quite a margin back to Ross Gunn, isn't it? Wow. He and Robert McGuinness are first and second in GTD, both of them ahead of Connor De Filippi. Then Roman DeAndres and Mike Skeen now down to, well, 7th overall and 4th in GTD in that Team Courthoff Mercedes. Make that 5th position because Aidan Reed, it goes up to 3rd, 6th overall for Rick Rowe Racing in the Acura.
Fairly big gaps, half a second between first and second, another 0.3, call it 0.4 between second and third. That's the 2 pro cars. Then Madison Snow for Paul Miller Racing only have to start the race tomorrow to be confirmed as champions in the sprint part of the championship season for IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship.
Yeah, Madison Snow then to the top in GTD, 4th position, 1:45.270. It's incredibly tight in GTD, but they're a long way behind the pro cars. Ross Gunn is almost, 44.3, almost a second between the best of the pro cars and the best of the non-pro cars. I'm surprised that there goes Robert McGuinness to top in GTD in the car barn with Peregrine Lamborghini.
Antonio Garcia is in the wall at turn 3, and that is the Wall of Champions as it used to be called. Go back long enough and look it up on Google, you find out why. Lot of stock car greats, some big names hit that wall there down through the years. Garcia has held onto it and will get it out of there, I think. Wow, that was really early in the piece when he turned in. Left front contact to the tyre wall there, Jeremy, and we're staying green at the moment with still 4.5 minutes to go. Faf's gone off as well. The number 9 car, that was at the Oak Tree last time around for Matt Campbell on remarkably his first time here at VIR. He's not put in a representative time yet. He's been building up to that lap, and he's just gone and ruined it halfway around.
Well, he went out much later than everybody else, John. He waited for about 5 minutes before he went out on the racetrack. He's only completed a total of 3 laps. Most of the other contenders have already turned 5 laps, with now inside 4 minutes remaining in this session. And that strategy sometimes works out, but it doesn't seem to have done so for the number 9 car. Today it stands 17th at the moment.
Yes, if you're going to run that strategy, then you've got to execute. And we've talked, didn't we, about the 1%ers earlier on. And if you're only going to get a lap or 2, you've got to make sure it's right. Heart of Racing go at the top. Ross Gunn, the gun driver, in every sense of the word, Jeremy. How about this? A 43.953.
Yeah, it took one slower lap there to cool the Michelin tyres a little bit. Then he laid it down again. A brilliant lap there for Ross Gunn. He was the fastest guy here last year. Looks like he's going to be the same again. He's matched, actually a little bit improved the time set this morning in much cooler conditions, or a little bit cooler conditions by Jack Hawkins. We thought that was a stunning lap. He was a half a second clear of the field this morning. This afternoon, Gunn has 7/10 of a second over Antonio Garcia's Corvette. Colin De Filippi already into the pits in car number 25 in 3rd position.
And another off there. You can't say people aren't trying, as Frankie Montecalvo's just gone off coming out of Oak Tree. That's going to be a lap there ruined for the number 12 Lexus. The yellow and black car, and he'll have to clean off his Michelin tyres. Has he got too much debris in the grille? Remember, if you get too much debris in the grille here, if you've been off, you can't get it sorted because your team in the pits aren't allowed to touch the car at all. So as it stands, Ross Gunn for Heart of Racing team by almost 3/4 of a second from Corvette Racing Antonio Garcia, then the 25 BMW for BMW Team RLL. Another car off is the Hardpoint Racing car, the number 99, the Grid Rival sponsorship, Rob Ferriol, and again that's coming out of Oak Tree turn. This is people getting greedy on the exit, Jeremy, and spinning up the rear Michelin tyres.
Yeah, and a couple of minutes ago, you might remember I said that Robert McGuinness was fastest in GTD. Well, he was eclipsed by Aidan Reed for Rick Ware Racing in the Acura. But since then, Russell Ward has gone to the top again for Winwood Racing in car number 57, the Mercedes that won last time out at Road America.
All live and free, every qualifying session this year. Here in sound and vision on IMSARadio.com. Hit the live video button if you're listening to us on the radio at the moment. No subscriptions, no blocks, and no breaks. We'll be doing this again for Motul Petit Le Mans in a month or so's time. In fact, just a little bit over that, isn't it? For the final race of the season, we've got 60 seconds remaining. Jeremy Shaw, John Hindhoff in the Haggerty Global Broadcast Centre. Shea Adam will be talking to 2 pole sitters in about 3.5-4 minutes time. Gunn is in the pits. There will be no faster lap than the 1:43.953 for Ross Gunn, but he is the only driver in the 103-second bracket as it stands right now. Antonio Garcia 7/10 behind, still out there. Also in the pit lane, BMW number 25 and Jack Hawksworth for Vassar Sullivan. They will be no better than 4th and 5th on the grid because the Pro and the AM cars are not split. So right now, it will be 5 GTD Pro cars and then Russell Ward on the outside of row 3. no split start for them tomorrow. And if anyone improves beyond the cars that are in the pits, that's where they will start. Checkered flag is out. First car to see it, Carbon. And the Robert McGuinness Lamborghini, 9th position.
Does not improve but only by about 1/10 of a second there for McGuinness. Another good lap for him. And as you say, the top pro cars, top 5 cars are all pro entries. So honour restored for those guys. There's Russell Ward, I think it was, off the road big time at the exit of Hog Pen, turn 17th. He's not going to improve on this lap. I don't think he was going to improve in any case, actually, but he certainly wasn't with that off.
You can't say he wasn't driving, though, Jeremy. He wasn't driving.
That's right. He might have enough grass there almost to rival the Porsche from yesterday, but no, I don't think so. But Jack Hawksworth, that's a surprise in that session. Stunning lap this morning. Can't get within, a second of that this afternoon. And all of a sudden, from being first, he's now 5th. Amazing.
He talked about how good the car was on the balance this morning when he put that amazing qualifying sim in. I wonder if the extra track temperature, actually, which has dropped down just a little bit. I think we started the session at 111. It's down to 102 now, Fahrenheit. That's 39 Celsius. So a little bit of cloud cover did come over, and that immediately affects the track temperature. If you haven't got direct sunlight on this circuit, it's quite grey rather than very black here. So as soon as the sun goes behind a cloud, you do lose a few degrees of track temperature. So Russell Ward will start in GTD pole in 6th overall. Alongside him, he will have Jack Hawksworth. In front of him, on row number 2, Matt Campbell and Conor De Filippi for FAF Porsche number 9 and the 25 BMW. And on the front row, Corvette Racing, Tonio Garcia in the number 3. And the 23 Ross Gunn Heart of Racing, Aston Martin, is on pole position.
Yeah, for the first time. He was fastest here last year, but that was not the the session he set that fastest time in did not set the grid position. So this is the first time that Ross Gunn has actually qualified on the pole position. That was a brilliant lap there by the 25-year-old from Prestwood in Buckinghamshire in the UK, Ross Gunn, his first pole position for Heart of Racing Aston Martin.
Very well thought of by Aston Martin Racing, and particularly by the Heart of Racing team. If you don't know their story, that's worth a bit of a Google as well. Other search engines are available, of course. I use DuckDuckGo if I'm honest, just because I think it's a cool name. The Heart of Racing, they look after, they raise a lot of money and look after the children's hospital heart unit up in Seattle, and we are talking millions of dollars that they have raised over the last few years with their program. So very much worth a look and a support. Find out what those guys are doing. So after that off at the Hog Pen, trying to improve, Russell Ward comes back with a grill full of the grass that has been immaculately groomed and manicured around the circuit. Shea Adam is down at the end of pit lane, which is where our two pole sitters are, and she can talk to Russell right now.
And Russell is immediately walking to the front of the car to try and examine it. And oh yeah, that is a lot of grass in there, Russell. I know you weren't expecting that. I'll give you a minute to take your helmet off there. A second pole position for Russell Ward, the first of which came at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca earlier this year. But as I mentioned to him yesterday, it's been a bit of an upswing for Russell. The last few races in several different series have wound up in victory lanes. So Russell, you're just continuing this trend of doing really well in everything, but qualifying on pole here at VIR, how does that feel?
You know, I love this place. It's the first place I got my first pole here in 2021 with the Mercedes-AMG GT4, and you know, now first time here in the GT3, and we got the same results. So it's just an awesome job by the crew. They got a little bit of cleaning to do. That was not on the quickest lap. That was on the in lap. So you know, man, it feels awesome.
Was that supposed to be an in-lap, though, Russell, or were you pushing for another one?
No, it was actually quicker, and I just messed up the third sector so good, so I think there's maybe another 10th or 2 in the car. But, man, it just feels good. Good to be back up here, you know, after Laguna. Hopefully there's a little bit of redemption in it for us. It's only halfway, so, you know, we start the race on the front, which is a good starting position, so loving it.
Congrats, Russell.
Thank you.
Well, He was up on the splits. I thought he might be. He turned it into an in-lap, Jeremy, but, you know, very good. Heart of Racing and Ross Gunn, tall fella, fits into the race car very nicely. And the first earned pole position as far as the record books are concerned, Shea, for Ross Gunn and Heart of Racing Aston Martin.
Yeah, and he'll be celebrating this one for a little bit tonight, but ultimately later tomorrow, I'm sure. Ross, how does it feel, pole sitter finally, after, well, you haven't been allowed to qualify the car until this season?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great feeling to be on pole. We haven't had a pole this year, so very nice to break that. We knew that coming here, this track suited the strengths of the Aston. And yeah, we were a little bit behind yesterday. We didn't have the great balance, but we did a really good job this morning to improve that situation. And then today, you know, just then it was really, really good. So a little bit of understeer that we can iron out for tomorrow, but even so, I think we're in a good place.
It's not just pole position, it's overall pole position, with this being the Michelin GT Challenge. How cool is it coming to the green flag with no one anywhere near you?
Yeah, it's very nice, but of course we've got some quick cars behind us, so we're going to be making sure that they try and stay behind. But yeah, having a clear track will be pretty nice.
Congrats, Ross.
Thank you very much.
Makes a good point there. A little bit more pressure on this race in Lime Rock, where it's only the GT3 cars, but he does get to dictate what he does coming to the line. I'm pretty impressed with that, Jeremy. He's delivered when he had to there for Heart of Racing. We've been talking about these incremental differences. Effectively, he's done the first part of the job, and he's got track position right now. Whether he can hold on to it with Antonio Garcia alongside him. And interesting for me, Pfaff Motorsports finding some pace as well, with Matt Campbell starting in behind the pole sitter in third.
Yeah, so even with going out late and that off-track excursion, he was able to find the speed in that car. Was Matt Campbell, so up to third position. That is a good effort for him. But even though Ross Gunn had a massive advantage on everybody else, the other four pro cars covered by, well, around about 0.2 of a second, perhaps, are really, really tight there. And then behind them, the first, 5 cars in GTD covered by around about 0.4 of a second. So again, very, very tight there also.
And Jeremy, Russell Ward taking a pole position ahead of Aidan Reid by 0.067 of a second. And then Madison Snow 0.004 and Robert McGuinness 0.0074 behind them. So just over 0.1 of a second between the top 4 there. That's absolutely what we expect from this category.
It is. It's brilliant, isn't it? And I think that bodes well for a really, really interesting race tomorrow. I'm astonished at the margin there for Ross Gunn at the front. That must have been a heck of a lap that he laid down in the same way that Jack Hawksworth did this morning. But, you know, I don't think we're going to be doing. We're not going to be seeing those sort of lap times on a regular basis on the race tomorrow. It's more about consistency in the 2 hours and 40-minute race.
If you're outside the USA, our international TV feed will be available for you, flag to flag, for the whole race tomorrow. And on Sirius XM 207 here in the US, our colleagues from NBC Sports will be looking after you with Lee Diffie and Calvin Fish if you're here in the US. Congratulations to Russell Ward of Winward Racing. They take the GTD pole ahead of Rick Ware Racing. And Ross Gunn will lead the field to the flag for the Michelin GT Challenge here at VIR tomorrow. The only driver to break 1 minute and 44 seconds. And he did that in some style. 0.7 of a second, the advantage over Corvette Racing and Antonio Garcia. Shea Adam was down in the pit lane and Jeremy Shaw was alongside me, John Hindhaugh, in the Haggerty Global Broadcast Centre. Bye-bye.